have the show in California, I guarantee you that Jericho will be defending that title because you know what? He's a big name, and he's going to draw the fans in, and people who are curious, casual WWE fans, they're going to come in and say, hey, I know Jericho. I want to see what this is all about. I want to see why he's acting the way he's acting, how he can not be the cookie-cutter Chris Jericho that we see on TV all the time. Now he's a lot edgier. He's a lot Attitude Era-ish, flipping people off, wearing weird makeup coming down, looking like a former Kiss member. It's just really cool, and you want to see more about it if you're that casual fan.
And I think the big thing for New Japan is that this G1 special at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, it's going to be live on TV. How many times have you watched New Japan on Access and it's been a replay and you see AJ Styles on there who's also competing in WWE, or you see Nakamura on there and he's also competing in WWE, or you see Adam Cole and he's in WWE.
Yeah.
Now they're doing this live with a lot of help from Mark Cuban, who's been spearheading a lot of this. They are now going to be live. It's going to be July 7th, 8 p.m. Like I said before, the main event, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes for the IWGP title. He's got 3 title shots coming up between now and All In. He's got this. He'll go up against Dalton Castle for the ROH title, and he's going to fight Nick Aldis for the NWA title at All In.
Now, could you see him possibly pulling an Austin Aries and winning all 3? And being that guy who comes around with all the titles around his waist?
It's possible. But I don't see them after this hard-fought victory and how long it took Kenny Omega to get here. And after Kenny lost to Cody at one of the Ring of Honor pay-per-view events, I don't see that happening right now.
Okay.
I can see him beating Dalton Castle for the title, for the Ring of Honor title. So... I mean, I have to go to your house to watch this, man.
Hey.
We need to make this an event.
We will get some wings, and we will make this happen. Because it's not a
this
wrestling event without wings. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's not. Other big news that happened this weekend?
Let's get to that first. I want to stick on New Japan real fast.
This guy cutting me off.
I'm sorry.
Man.
I have to ask you a question, and also the listeners, since we're on this New Japan buzz. Now that we have one former, I guess you could say, big-time WWE superstar. I mean, I still count Cody as a crossover, as a big star. I mean, a lot of people may say, well, you know, he was not a main eventer. He never won a huge title. He wasn't that successful in the WWE. No, maybe not. But he comes from a family where wrestling is in their blood. And if you don't know by now, he is Dusty Rhodes' son, younger son. And just the fact of having a Rhodes in New Japan, in Ring of Honor, in All In now that he's taking over, it just creates this big buzz. And now I'm starting to think that we had Cody go over. Now we're seeing Chris Jericho. After a while, if we get any disgruntled wrestlers who decide, you know what, I don't want to be under contract anymore. Once my contract expires, I'm taking it elsewhere. I'm taking my ball elsewhere. I'm going to go play with the big boys. I just took a WCW quote.
Old school.
I'm going to go play with the big boys in New Japan Wrestling. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, my whole thought process on wrestlers going back and forth, when maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, before the pipe bomb happened, I would always worry about wrestlers leaving the WWF.
Okay.
And going to these other organizations where we wouldn't really see them anymore. Now, I want them to leave. I don't want them to get to the WWE. I don't even want them to leave NXT because I feel like they're going to be messed around with. And that's no fault to... I don't know. I don't want to put blame on anyone because that's not what we're here for.
No, you don't want to do that.
But I don't want to see Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa leave NXT. I want them to stay there.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like there's a bit of a curse with NXT. I mean, there's a few that we've seen. For instance, the Shield, they've done fairly well.
But that was before NXT was really NXT.
But now,
because those guys were products of Florida Championship Wrestling before they made something out of it.
But now we're seeing these NXT wrestlers, superstars, They move up in the ranks. They move to either Raw or SmackDown, and everybody gets all excited. They're like, yes, we're finally going to see these guys debut. And then all of a sudden, they do the little video packages. They do the backstage interviews. They build it up. They build it up. They build it up. And then all of a sudden, it falls flat. You see them lost in the shuffle. You see them in the mid-card. You see them on Superstars. You see them on the kickoff show. And then, sadly, you see them either get released, you see them get injured, you see them decide, hey, you know what, I'm done with this. It just happens time and time again. You see them thrown in comedy skits, and then you're just scratching your head, and you're like, wait a minute, didn't this guy win the NXT championship? I'm using Bo Dallas as an example. Another one is Neville. We've seen him. I mean, yes, he had the cruiserweight, but for a while he was just floundering around, lost in the shuffle. You have guys moving up constantly. Look at the Revival. They're begging to be given a shot, and they're not even being used correctly. We see them on the anniversary, and they're getting super kicked, and all the DX and NWO guys doing all the click, doing all the moves on them.
How about Sami Zayn, who is in an awful storyline right now?
Oh, with
Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley, yes.
And how he got stuck in that. What's going on with Kevin Owens and even Finn Balor? Like, I don't know. I think I read this the other day, but in the Fox deal that now brings SmackDown over, I could have sworn I saw something that said that NXT will be making TV now on Fox. I don't know if that's true or not. I have to go back and read the full contract, but I thought I saw NXT going to TV, and if that is true,
it's going to be a watered-down product.
But if that's true, I really think they should think about separating and letting NXT be NXT.
Well, NXT has always been Triple H's baby, and Dusty Rhodes helped bring that up as well. You had a bunch of the graduates who...
But it could be like... NXT could be like WWE's version of Warzone, where you had Raw, which was, the beginning. The kids were still awake. You had the clean stuff.
Yep.
Warzone came on at 10:30, and then we got the real big, badass stuff to go on afterwards. So NXT could be that grunge, hard, badass product that it is right now, and it should keep those wrestlers, because seeing Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, obviously they're going to go straight to 205 Live, and then we're not really going to see much of them.
No.
I think the problem is NXT doesn't get promoted enough with regular fans on TV, because not everyone has the network.
No.
And you're not seeing these guys. The only guy that I think that will finally be able to, I guess, I don't want to say it's a curse, but break out of that whole NXT thing is Drew McIntyre. 1, because he's been there. 2, because he's a big guy. And 3, because Vince McMahon has always loved Drew McIntyre. And he had to leave to make himself something to come back and be who he is now.
100% agree. But back to my original question real quick, and then we'll move on. There's slowly a crack in the dam, so to speak. Who would you think would benefit leaving WWE once their contract is up? Or who would you like to see leave WWE when their contract is up and possibly start feuding with Kenny Omega in New Japan, going to Ring of Honor, bringing that exposure to all these promotions that Chris Jericho is starting to bring the buzz to New Japan?
I think all the guys that have come from NXT deserve that. Like the Samoa Joes and even to a certain extent AJ Styles, because as you saw him get left off, he didn't get into a feud with Kenny Omega once he got kicked out of the Bullet Club. They just left it as he was leaving.
Yeah.
And that was it. But, we all want to see Samoa Joes and the Finn Balors and all those guys go back. And I think the only, WWE guy to me would be Seth Rollins. Right? He's been carrying Raw.
True. I mean, I'm trying to think of any names that come to mind, but a lot of these guys are, like you said, they're either former NXT or they've been through Ring of Honor. Like, the other day I was thinking about Cesaro. You and I were texting about Cesaro, but he's been in Ring of Honor, so...
Actually, him and Sheamus would be nice, because Sheamus's brawling abilities go perfectly in New Japan. To have them as a tag team over there, that'd be crazy.
And probably they could do more moves that weren't as limited as and restricted as WWE kind of has guys doing. One name that probably would like to see, but I mean, we won't see that for years to come, is Braun Strowman. I mean, I'm sure he's locked for quite some time. But the fact that he kind of got slighted with the whole main event with Brock Lesnar, and then he's in a tag team match with a little kid. I mean, and now he's kind of like the comedy hour stick.
I think this coming WrestleMania, he will be champion.
Really?
And if he's not champion by WrestleMania, next year's WrestleMania, if he's not champion by next year's WrestleMania, then I don't know if he's ever going to win. They're already talking about another Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns main event at SummerSlam in New York. In the New York area, he's going to get booed. New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey.
Wherever he goes. I mean,
not everywhere. But he does get booed most of the time.
So, what about Roman Reigns? You think he would ever go to New Japan?
I mean, he's not a bad worker. He actually, to be honest, he got screwed.
Honestly, I think
they screwed Roman Reigns because he should have won the Royal Rumble the year before when Batista was there.
Yeah.
The fans were hot for the Shield. They were hot for Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan didn't make it into the Royal Rumble, which everyone wanted to see. And he got screwed out of that shot. And now everyone can't stand him because he's being forced down everyone's throat.
See, that's why I think he would benefit New Japan, because he would be his own gimmick. I don't even like to use the word gimmick. He'd be his own brand. He wouldn't be that force-fed.
Well, all these wrestlers would be their own brand.
For sure. Yeah, but I mean, he wouldn't be that rigid and uptight and 3-move Superman punch and spear, and we would probably see a lot more diversity coming from Roman Reigns with his moves and sets of and feuds and probably mic skills. It would probably benefit him a great deal. Do I see it happening in the future? Probably not, because we already know he's Vinnie Mac's golden boy, and he's already being groomed to be the meal ticket, even though people were booing him left and right. But it could happen. One day, it could happen.
Well, someone who's not Vinnie Mac's golden boy and probably never will be and never was is one CM Punk.
Oh, CM Punk.
And when we come back, we'll get into why we think we have to actually get into CM Punk's big UFC fight.
We have to get into his UFC fight
his
and his
UFC
court
career.
And his court date that just
his
happened
court
recently.
date. And I said from time to time we're going to go back in time and remember things that happened. And I want to go back to, since these two guys are the big topic of the day, Chris Jericho and CM Punk's feud, the best in the world versus the best in the world at what he does, and who really won that feud. We'll get into that when we come back. Anthony the Ant-Man, along with Keith Logan, the Loganator, here on Ringside Rumble Radio.
Ranger Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting in the forest. 1 second, I'm having a smoke. Next thing I know, I'm face-to-face with Smokey Bear.
Wow.
And he told me it only takes one spark to start a wildfire.
Did you know 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans?
I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous and you're not. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA.